This is Las Vegas Vantage with your host, Rocky Dickerson.
Hi, I'm Rocky Dickerson of Realty One Group. This is Las Vegas Vantage. Here on Las Vegas Vantage, we do cover real estate here in Las Vegas, but also, more importantly, we're covering the community of Las Vegas. What makes this such a great place to live? Now, my guests were great guests of mine last season on Las Vegas Vantage. I absolutely love them dearly. We got Vance and Michelle Shepherd with us here today. How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
We're doing great, Rocky. Great to be here.
Fantastic. So many of you may know of Michelle and Vance because for so long, they were prominent musicians here in this region doing different bands. And I tell you what, they are phenomenal musicians with multiple instruments for each of them. And now they not only play at different churches that I am fortunate enough to get them see them play at, they also have their own studios. They teach other students. So these are known as some of the best musicians here in Las Vegas. But more than that, what we're going to talk about is another facet of their life. Because again, as we mentioned last week, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And that's what we want to cover here today with Vance and Michelle. So, Michelle, why don't you start us off? How is it that you and Vance got so passionate about mental health awareness?
Wow, it's a loaded question. That was quite a few years in the making. We've both actually been very passionate about physical health. So when we were touring for 18 years together, and Vance was touring for years before that, health was so big because, you know, in the entertainer world, you don't cancel shows. The show goes on, you know, whether you're throwing up on stage, whether you're sick, whatever. So we found early on that we had to be on top of our physical health. And that was number one. And that was really where our focus was at. Vance became a certified personal fitness trainer about 7 years ago and teaches people all the time how to take care of their physical health. He's an absolutely awesome coach. He's coaching at EOS and also at Lifetime. And so that's a big part of what we do. But a few years back, actually 5 years ago, my father took his life. And it was because of mental wellness issues. And my brother had taken his life 15 years before my father. And so I've had suicide strike my immediate family twice. And I've seen so many different things around me. I've seen people struggle in horrific ways. And I know that there is a connection between our physical health and our mental health. And there is so much going on in the world right now. So that's really, you know, what got us into, man, we've got to start taking care of what's going on up here and what is affecting what is going on up here. And we know that that's the gut microbiome, and we'll end up talking more about that and about solutions. But that's really what made us passionate, is seeing people around us just struggling, especially post-COVID. That's when things really came to light and people started going, okay, it's not taboo to talk about this anymore. This is something that I need to get a hold of because I've got 4 little kids that need me. I've got a husband. I've got this. I've got that. Wherever you're at in life, we have to be on top of our mental wellness because it controls everything in our life.
Sure, exactly. And so what I'm seeing is that, you know, granted, I mean, I experienced a suicide loss of a best friend back in high school. And yet lately, it seems that I'm more aware of different types of mental health issues in various aspects of our society and culture. Vance, are you seeing a lot of that as well?
Yeah, especially after COVID. You know, it's been crazy, you know.
Sure.
I second everything Michelle said, for sure.
Michelle, do you find that there's different aspects of mental health that are becoming more problematic lately?
Oh, yeah. 100%. I mean, if you look at the numbers, and these are just the numbers that are actually reported, 1 in 4 people are struggling with mental health, and the numbers are growing. And that's just what's reported. And what's actually shocking, Rocky, is that children as young as 5 years old are clinically diagnosed with mental health struggles. I mean, I can't even imagine that 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, children as young as 5 years old, and more than 43 million people just in America alone are now struggling with mental illness. That's crazy. That's crazy. Check this out, though. Over half of them who are struggling didn't even receive care last year. They're struggling silently. And it matters to everybody, like mental wellness and your performance. Man, we need solutions now more than ever.
Sure.
And science is proving that the issue is not actually in our head, but it's in our gut. It's what's going on inside of our physical body. It's what's happening with our nutrition. It's what's happening with our environment. It's what's happening with, all the stuff that, is in the air and in the food and in the water. 90% of all the food that we eat is processed food. And that's adding to the problem because we're putting chemicals inside of our bodies.
Sure. So I noticed that you're talking about areas of the physical body affecting areas of our mind, our mental capacity. Are there many different regions that are relating into mental health besides what we've just been thinking of?
Absolutely. We've got, we like to focus on the 5 pillars of mental wellness because there's really 5 that make up how you feel on a day-to-day basis. And so number 1, we've got our emotional wellness. Are our emotions just swinging out of control? Are we able to rein them in when we're feeling sad, when we're feeling angry? Are we able to stop and be rational and make good decisions through those emotionally tough times? We've also got physical wellness, like we've just been talking about. You want to get out there. You want to be in a physical environment that you can sweat, right, Vance? That you can actually, you can create endorphins in your body, and you can get that serotonin and that dopamine and that GABA. You want all of this stuff, and moving our body and being physically active is so important to mental wellness. But then we've got environmental. So let's say, I'll just give you an example. Let's say you're an extreme people person and you love to be around the hustle and bustle. You love talking to people, and your job has you in a bank vault somewhere in a 3x3 cage counting coins. I'm just giving you just a crazy example.
Sure,
but
sure.
that would be an idea of your environment contributing to your mental wellness. If you were that person in that little 3x3 cube, you would probably go crazy.
And I think that comes into the COVID too, when everything went to Zoom, everyone isolated in their houses.
Right. And Vance, I mean, don't you find that when you really have done that great physical workout and you've pushed your body, that the after effects, the dopamine, the serotonin in your mind is really helping you throughout the rest of your day, just from that workout you did, maybe in the morning?
Yeah, depending on the workout you do. If you do a really high intense one, you may feel like just taking a nap, especially after you eat. Fueling our body. It's mental health is the gut-brain axis, but it's also your physical.
Sure.
You're going to get physical. It's 80% of what you eat is your health goals. You get 80% of your food and your nutrition right, then you only got 20% of, even simply taking a walk after you eat, getting out in nature. This is helping that mental wellness as well as your physical. It balances your blood sugar to go eat after a walk after you eat dinner.
Sure. That I totally get that. In fact, lately I've actually been working with improving my own health and shedding a lot of excess pounds, getting more active, more healthy. And I got to admit, I had a cheat meal about 4 nights ago. I felt awful within 10 minutes because I just wasn't aware of what I was ingesting was doing to my body. So I completely understand and agree with you that this all ties in together. It's one big picture, and we need to understand that.
Yeah, that's such a good point, Rocky. And your body's going to know, especially when you treat it really well. And then when you don't, it's going to tell you right away, I don't like what you just did to me. And
Sure.
so you found that out, when you had that cheat meal. And it's not saying that we can't have a cheat meal, but at least like, oh, these are things that are triggering my body and not making me feel good. And so we have two more pillars of mental wellness, and one of them is financial, because we know that when people are struggling financially, or they've just got financial stresses, right? I mean, you can be a millionaire and have financial stresses. That can add to your mental wellness as well. How many CEOs do we see, commit suicide? How many people that are having financial difficulties? That's the road that they take out. They take the suicide route. And so financial wellness, and it doesn't mean that you need to be rich and to have a lot of excess, but how are you managing your finances? How do you think of your finances? Do they bring you stress every single day? Because that's not good. And then the last one I think is super important. We call it purposeful wellness. This is when you wake up every single morning and that alarm clock goes off. Do you feel a sense of dread? Or do you feel like you want to get out of bed and you have a purpose and you know that God placed you here to do something, and you're going to have a productive day, and you've got things on your calendar that bring life to you, that make you feel like you're supposed to feel as a human? This is purposeful wellness, knowing your place in this world, knowing that you make a difference, knowing that you matter, and that you are going to be enriching other people's lives. And so those are the 5 pillars: emotional, physical, environmental, financial, and purposeful.
That's great. It reminds me of the purpose-driven life when you talk about the purposeful health as well.
Absolutely.
And that's another thing that I'm noticing here, thinking of purpose-driven life. I know another thing that came out of that particular church was the Celebrate Recovery program. And I do notice in there's a lot of added interest lately. There's a lot of people that are seeking help, which is a great thing. Hopefully, we're starting to lose some of that old stigma we had decades ago against seeking help and working on our mental health. Would you say that you've seen some of that as well?
Yeah, I've seen for sure that people are wanting to talk about it. People are not feeling like it's such a stigma anymore. They're feeling like there are solutions for them. And if you go online and you look, there's so much stuff out there now that was not out there 5 years ago. There's
Sure.
so many different things that are being done in the area of nutritional science to educate people on how to take care of their mental health holistically, naturally, because it doesn't have to come with a prescription. And sometimes in severe cases, maybe yes, to stabilize someone, to get them to a point where they're functioning mentally okay. But for the most of us that just have bouts of maybe a seasonal depression, maybe we deal with anxiety sometimes, maybe we have OCD, different things like that. There's so many things that we can do nutritionally. And one of the other things I wanted to bring up, Rocky, is the fact that inflammation actually can cause depression, anxiety, and stress disorders. And most people don't know that. So when you have inflammation in your body and you've got high inflammation markers, we know that inflammation is the root cause of every single disease and illness. And like we stated before, it's caused by eating processed foods, the soil being depleted of the minerals that we desperately need, the pollution going on around us, the stress in our work environment, maybe our home environment. We have a lot of stress. Just driving around the 15 in Las Vegas, my gosh, this last year, I have to tell you, Rocky, that makes me mentally unwell when I'm driving on the 15. You can probably, yeah, it's bad. But then we've got nutrient deficiencies in our food because, again, we're eating all of these processed foods. Most of us are walking around chronically dehydrated. They say that 70% of all humans are actually dehydrated all the time. And so, you know, if you have inflammation because you have exhaustion, fatigue, joint pain, feelings of overwhelmingness, hormonal imbalance, frequent illness, digestive issues, trouble sleeping, burnout. Burnout is a big one right now. Depression, anxiety, weight gain, weight loss, inflammation is everything.
Yeah, and so oftentimes you'll run into people and they'll say, "Well, you know, I believe that I can get all my nutrients from whole food." Well, that was the case back in the 1980s
and before,
but with the soil depletion, they're just, people that say that are just simply uneducated on what's going on in the world right now with the soil depletion and things like that, and what they're spraying it with, all these kind of things. It's crucial to supplement.
Wow.
1980, you would have to eat today. You would have to eat 30 cups of spinach to equal the nutrient density of 1 cup of spinach back in 1980. And that's just in 1980.
Wow.
That's just a fact. And that's not just spinach, it's everything. Apples, oranges, grapefruit, everything that we eat that's grown from the ground, because they don't give that ground a sabbatical. So once again, stating that someone that says that's just simply not educated on nutrition.
Sure.
They have to supplement.
And I got to admit, I'm one of those people that I was not educated. I tell you what, I know we've got some solutions to get into and such, but we're running out of time. Would you guys mind coming back next week so we can delve into those solutions?
We'd love to. We'd be honored to, Rocky, for sure.
Fantastic. Well, Vance, Michelle, thank you so much for being on the program again with us here.
You're welcome, Rocky.
It's
always a joy to be with you.
And thank you for watching today on Las Vegas Vantage. As always, if you're looking to sell or buy real estate here in Las Vegas, I hope you'll call me, Rocky Dickerson, so that I can give you superior service. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next episode.